Bonjour, bonsoir, and bienvenue to High Tales of History, the history podcast, where two sisters get high and take a hazy journey through the past as we surprise the other with a story from history. I'm Laurel, the older sister.
I'm Katie, the younger sister.
It is episode 101, also known as season 5, episode 7. Apologies in advance for my voice. I lost my voice almost completely over the last 36 hours. It's because it's the great pollinating in the Midwest. So it's
happening.
like all that stuff's just been aggravating the shit out of my throat. So sorry about that. But it's been a great season so far. It's nearly at a close, but not yet. We have this episode and one more after this one. We've had some great guests come and hang out with us in the Smoke Circle. We've celebrated 100 episodes. We've gotten some new followers. Actually, I got this really great message on Spotify from a new listener.
Oh.
Absolutely made my day. I was having kind of a rough day, so it absolutely made it for me. And part of the comment left was history, yes. Tales, absolutely. Hi, praise be. And it was the all caps praise be that I made like a little chortle sound in my kitchen. It was great. And they were saying that the show is just really helping to keep them sane. It's been heavenly and all these really nice, wonderful things. And so thank you. Thank you for the kind words. We're happy to be a safe space for everyone. Just come on in and vibe with us. You always have a safe space here in the Smoke Circle. So we love you. Thank you.
It is a vibe.
Mm-hmm. It is a vibe. And Ireland has been vibing particularly hard. So I wanted to give a shout out to Ireland too. That just completely busted the door down with listens.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. From the beginning, folks, we've always had certain countries that essentially from day one, they've always had their spot and held it and just like really held firm in our top country listens.
Yeah,
now the United States, they're far and away first. Australia's always been a solid second. No one's budged them from their spot.
That Australia's there for us, dude.
Ireland we have a lot of countries that have had a few listens here and there, and they get on the radar of the country's list. But Ireland's been down there from the beginning, but has been down there pretty low. And all the listens have been from the Leinster province as well too. And all of a sudden, like the last, I don't know, month, maybe two, it's just like, boom, it's up there in a solid fourth place now.
Wow.
So thank you to Leinster and also Gorev Mile Maagat Héireann. So it's for you, Ireland. Learn that in Irish. And I'm actually really sweating because I hope I did that even a little okay.
I mean, you have to appreciate the effort.
So it's fun to see that happen. That same thing happened with the Netherlands and with Morocco as well. They just like flew up to the top. So thank you for those of you who are binging.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They're doing a binge and I appreciate it. Yeah. Ahoy. Welcome aboard. Katie, how are you doing?
Hanging in there, champ. Hanging in there. We're making it day by day. Right now, I'm really good, but I'm also pretty stoned, so that helps.
I mean, really, that's all you can do is just put one foot in front of the other, day by day, step by step.
Yep. I suppose that I just gave away what I was drinking tonight, which is water, because hydration is important, and I think I'm ripped off of 10 right now. I'm not actually sure. I stopped counting after a certain bit, and I was like, whew, we're gone now. I'm doing just fine.
Your eyes are like...
But my storytelling ability...
Warm it up, Chris. All right.
Yeah, impeccable.
Excellent. Good. I can't wait. Well, because I just got my voice back, back beyond a whisper, I should say. I still sound very much like I've lost my voice. But when I got my voice back earlier, I was like, well, I guess I'm just going to have a hot toddy while I do my episode tonight. So very honey-y, very lemony. It's got some bourbon in there too, which is nice. I've been told that like you just kind of let
That's one of my favorite
get around your throat, drinks. Opens things up. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that one's a solid choice. Gets the job done.
This is after May the 4th when we're recording this, but I've got my Star Wars mug, and I love this one because look, It's a little stormtrooper with like a little flag from his blaster, and it's like going pew pew. I just wish it was right-handed instead of left. So instead of like,
right, if only.
Want this little guy out.
Have you seen the memes where the stormtroopers, it says stormtroopers before and after paintballing, and it's the same picture?
Yeah, bless them. Not a great shot, are they?
No.
And then I also have an edible. So it's a lower dose edible, but it's hitting kind of hard. That, or maybe the bourbon too. And I'm like, oh, this is a little.
They do
harder.
That sometimes. Those like
sometimes the little sneaky ones.
Or the one where it says it's a 5 and you try it and it hits like a 25. Oh. You're like,
yeah, I'm feeling things. Yeah, there I am. Let's hope all this helps and gets us through the episode. It's gonna be great because today, buds, our trip through history is taking us through France. France. It's a country that's given the world cinema, the baguette, the bikini, pasteurization, the fucking Etch-a-Sketch, my dudes.
Oh, really?
I know.
French knowledge is admirable.
Yeah, they've got a lot of stuff going on for them. Those are just a handful. Those are just my picks that I wanted to put forth. With our themes, everybody, this is a thing that we've been doing this season. Our themes, we wanted to pick something very general that allowed for us to be very creative with our own picks with this. So our theme tonight is French history. So it could be whatever in that. But that means, unfortunately for Katie, that we do a little bottle leaf grinder to see who goes first.
Oh, my favorite.
Bottle leaf grinder, if you're unfamiliar, it is, or if you're new, is the rock, paper, scissors version of, our version of rock, paper, scissors that we do for the show to see who goes first. So here's bottle. Looks the same as the rock. Leaf looks the same as paper. And then grinders are our little claw hand here that we do. So that's our scissors. Here we go. Bottle, leaf, grinder, shoot. I bottled, Katie grindered. Boop-doop. I win. I'm going first.
You win.
All right. So with our theme, we are doing French history. Again, like I said, we can get a little creative with it. And I had a few things on the short list of topics tonight. But like as I was digging around, I found that France, I mean, honestly, just like anywhere else in the world, but France had some really interesting WTF kind of history. All weird, interesting, scandalous, a whole bunch of different things that I found. So I decided to put it in a top 5, increasing in wildness, weirdness, or scandalousness as we go. And this is what I like to call Oui-diculous French history. Get it? Oui-diculous? O-U-I? Okay. Anyway, first up at number 5, the shortest reign. Katie is not impressed. The shortest reign of a monarch ever. Asterisk. Might have tied with a crown prince in Portugal. Okay, so this got the 5th spot because while it's a strange moment in history, like the shortest reign of a monarch, but it's not like the most wild. So, we got to start somewhere, folks. We can't just jump straight into the guy who ate literally everything or mass hallucinogenic poisoning. Okay, we got to tease it. Got to tease it, folks. We got to let it simmer, just like I did there. So here we go. Louis Antoine, the Duke of Angoulême, was the nephew of the last pre-revolution king, which is Louis XVI. Same one that's married to Marie Antoinette, and both of those are going to come back again quite a few times. My part of the episode tonight, because that era of French history is wild. Speaking of, too, the SparkNotes timeline of French history in this time period goes a little something like this. Okay, we got the storming of the Bastille and the start of the French Revolution. Bloop. Then Louis XVI is overthrown, and the people eventually start their own republic. Boom. Reign of Terror. Bad fucking times for all. 1799. The revolution officially ends when Napoleon Bonaparte takes power in a coup. He will eventually crown himself emperor and takes France's power on tour across Europe until the Battle of Waterloo, and he loses in 1815. Boop. exile for Napoleon. Okay. 1815. The monarchy, the Bourbon monarchy, is restored with its first King Louis the 18th, back on the throne again. And he seems to be likable enough, right? There's not like a ton of things that are going on at that time. He's just like the first back. It's his brother and successor, Charles X, who is more conservative and tries to do things a little bit too much like how the old monarchy of France did. And the French people are like, my guy, do you not remember what happened only a few decades ago? Like our guillotine still works, you know? Like, are you kidding me? So Charles X is Louis Antoine's daddy, mentioned at the top here as the shortest reign of a monarch. Charles X is looking at the unrest of the people, which eventually formalized into the July Revolution, also known as the Revolution of 1830. And then he was like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to abdicate. That's fine. I'm going to put my crown back over here. That's fine. Your son goes to you. Louis Antoine, who was king then for 20 minutes. And then he also was like, yeah, you know what? I don't think that's a good idea either. And he abdicates and gets rid of the crown. It then goes to Charles X's cousin, Louis Philippe, who was also called the Citizen King. Who was much liked for the time, at least. He was much liked for a while. And he was like the second to last king of France. Did you know, fun fact, speaking of all these revolutions here, there were essentially 3 revolutions in France between the late 18th century and the mid 19th century. Now, some of them are bigger and smaller than others, so some of them are called more like uprisings and stuff. But essentially, there were 3 revolutions just between late 1700s and mid 1850s. Damn, that's a lot going on.
They were not happy.
They weren't. Yeah, and there we have Louis Antoine, aka Louis the 19th, who is history's shortest reigning monarch at 20 minutes. Although, as I put some asterisks in there at the beginning, it should be noted he is tied with Louis Philippe, which is interesting because there's a Louis Philippe who's the next king of France over there. But anyway.
Right, I thought that was right. I was like, oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Louis Philippe of Portugal, who also reigned for 20 minutes. His daddy was King Carlos I. Now, he was assassinated and died instantly, but the crown prince, Louis Philippe, was fatally injured, but survived for 20 minutes before dying of his own injuries. So he technically was also king for 20 minutes, more as just like the formality of passing. He wasn't like coronated or anything like that, but I mean,
it really
obviously,
wasn't time.
yeah, he's like dying, so he's literally king as he's dying before he. Yeah,
that's a rough.
So
one.
by technicalities, people are like, well, he also was king for 20 minutes.
It wasn't a long time.
Right? That's faster than it takes for me to finish like a cup of tea or something like that. You know,
Same.
like that's,
yeah,
it's not long at all.
No.
Number 4. This is the Pont Saint-Esprit poisoning. Pont Saint-Esprit. There we go. Poisoning. In 1951, post-war, right? 1951, a small, quiet village in southern France called, I gotta do it again, Pont Saint-Esprit had a sudden and terrifying outbreak of some sort of hallucinogenic poisoning, which ended in hundreds of villagers becoming violently ill and 5, including an apparently healthy 25-year-old man, dying. What the fuck? So the summer of 1951 was particularly wet, and the rye crop was expected to fall short of the fall harvest.
I think this happened up in the Viking Scandinavia too.
Yeah, you think so?
I think so. I don't know. Finish your story because it
All right,
sounds like the one that I know.
Okay, let me know. So the government is really restricting, a lot of food industries, but particularly when it comes to grain, there's a very controlled distribution of flour. And the village of Pont Saint-Esprit had 2 bakeries that made the people their baguettes and their breads and their grain products. Within 48 hours, 230 villagers were experiencing symptoms of what looked like food poisoning, nausea, vomiting. but some were in really bad shape with really scary hallucinations, swollen limbs that were so bad that in some cases they turned gangrenous, and also convulsions. There's one account from the postman at the time. His name was Leon Armunier, and he was doing his route, and he was suddenly overwhelmed by nausea and these wild hallucinations. And he was like, "It was terrible." Quote, "It was terrible. I had the sensation of shrinking and shrinking, and the fire and the serpents coiling around my arms." No,
That's
Leon,
awful. I
right?
immediately felt that in my current state, and I was like, nope, nope, I don't
Nope,
like that at all.
no. Terrible. So he fell off his bike and was taken to a hospital in Avignon, which is like the nearest big town. Staff had to put him in a straitjacket because he was like thrashing around so much. They bring him to a room. It's shared with three other people who were teens who had been chained to their beds to help keep them under control. And they were like thrashing around all over the bed. He was like, it was terrifying. The sound. He's like, I'd rather die than have to go through that day again. That's this man's interview. Yuck, right? Another villager, his name is Gabriel Valadieri. Valadier? And he was repeatedly shouting, I am dead and my head is made of copper and I have snakes in my stomach and they are burning me, before trying to throw himself into the nearby river.
What the fuck?
Others, I know, what the fuck? I'm holding my own hands, folks. Look at me. I'm just like, ah. Others thought that they were being eaten by tigers. Some saw men with grinning skulls for heads. I say yuck to all of it. Yuck, yuck, yuck. I don't want that. Now, at the time, the doctors were like, ooh, we think it's ergot poisoning. And a huge investigation was going on, but nothing really came, like, it was pretty much a mystery. But if they could, as far as they got was ergot poisoning. So everyone was like, yeah, okay, ergot poisoning, that must be it. One of the bakeries had been making food contaminated with ergot fungus on its grain. And it's a rare but very terrible and unfortunate case of mass ergot poisoning. So that was a theory that got held for many decades and is still technically the official reason, although people are also like, it's kind of a mystery because they didn't even know that for sure, but that was just close as they could get. But the official story gets challenged in 2009 by investigative journalist Hank Albarelli when he revealed a CIA document labeled, hold on to your britches, folks. It's doozy of a title. It's not even a title. It's actually just like, it's named by what's listed on its cover sheet. So here we go. Regarding Pont Saint-Esprit and F. Olsen files, period. SO, special operation, SPAN, /France operation file, inclusive Olsen, Intel files, hand carried to Berlin, tell him to see to it that these are buried. Boom. And that's the whole title.
What the hell?
Before I continue with my responsible historian hat on, I want the records to show that Mr. Albarelli's story seems to frequently get discredited or have holes poked in his theory by like other scientists and historians. So again, you have to just kind of take everybody's theory here because it's still technically a mystery. You have to take everybody's theory here with a little pinch of salt. But for the sake of why this gets classified as particularly weird or like shocking history, I just wanted to add this part of the story so you can see that the direction it's been taken in by some people. Mr. Albarelli was investigating into the apparent suicide / possible murder of Frank Olsen, who, at the time of the poisoning in 1951, was leading the research on LSD for the CIA. That is the F. Olsen believed to be named in that CIA document. The other name mentioned was that of Bellin, Belin, likely referring to David Bellin, who was leading the Rockefeller Commission created by the White House in 1975 to look into abuses that had been carried out worldwide by the CIA. Another layer of context to add in is that SO SPAN, so SO meaning special operation, and SPAN being the name of the operation or project. There are some papers that show Project SPAN as a field test that fell under MK Ultra. Albarelli drew the conclusion that Pont Saint-Esprit, Berlin, and F. Olsen, and also the quote, tell him to see to it that these are buried, quote, all mentioned together meant that possibly the CIA had something to do with it, since it was during that time that they were doing those LSD experiments. Albarelli also obtained another CIA report from 1954 under the Freedom of Information Act. And in the second report, an agent was reporting that about a conversation they had with the rep of the Sandoz chemical company, which is located a few hundred kilometers away in Switzerland. The agent reported that after several drinks, the Sandoz representative abruptly stated, quote, the Pont Saint-Esprit's secret, quote, is that it was not the bread at all. It was not grain ergot. So these are two documents that he obtained under, Freedom of Information. And he was like, oh, was that the CIA testing like mass poisoning? Because that was something that they were looking into LSD as possible, possible things that they could use as like a chemical warfare, or they could use against spies. Yeah, so it was like height of the Cold War. So we do know, this is fact here. We do know that the CIA was doing these experiments. MK Ultra was an actual program that they had and that they did, and you can find more information out about that. That's not what's being contested, but there are a lot of questions around the various theories that have been put forward. So they're like, well, why would the CIA go to this little village in France and poison people? Like, and now again, people are like, well, they were already testing people around them without their knowledge of LSD. Why wouldn't they? So there's people that will go back and forth on all of these things.
So don't hang around anyone from the CIA. Got it.
I mean, right.
It might be an unsuspecting guinea pig. No,
just
thank
in
you.
general. Yeah. Another person who has written about the incident is historian Professor Stephen Kapler, who says that it wasn't LSD or ergot poisoning. And he thinks it was nitrogen trichloride that was illegally added to bleach the flour. And that made people sick. Because he says that people exhibited symptoms after about 36 hours or more, and LSD presents symptoms within just a few hours. Also, some of the other symptoms don't match with LSD. There's some stuff that some people had, and they're like, well, that's nothing that happens under LSD. So there's another theory. Others
I like that one so far.
Yeah, he put forth. He's written a book. I think it's called Le Pain the cursed bread, but it's like the history of bread. But he does like a lot of research, I think, into that particular story. I think that's my understanding. Others have said that it might be mercury poisoning. So as of the recording of this episode, there's still not a definitive answer that I saw, but I did happen to see from a synopsis of Professor Kapler's book. Oh yeah, Le Pain Maudit. I'm glad I wrote that down. That in post-war France, there was a handful of mass food poisonings. And it seemed like it was due to just the general dysfunction of the industry, which was a problem post-war for sure. You had to get like production back up again. People were still on war rations after the war. But that was a problem for years prior, even pre-war. So there's just a lot of issues with just food industry and the government having to regulate the food, that maybe things just went bad along the way or weren't processed as carefully. But so I thought that would be an interesting thing to throw in there. I saw that just based off the synopsis of like a detailed synopsis.
Yeah.
But, I'll put that in the show notes if people are interested.
Interesting.
So, all right, next is number 3, Chevalier d'Eon. The soldier turned knight turned diplomat turned spy who lived half of their life as a man and the other half as a woman. So for this section, I'm going to use she, them pronouns, mostly they, them, for most of the biography. Although, if you read up on this person, you're going to find a variety of pronouns being used. They lived, as a man for the first 49 years of their life, and then the last 33 as a woman. And then seem to be rather gender fluid even between those definitive periods. So remember, folks, that while transgender, non-binary, and gender fluid folks have always existed in history at that time didn't always have the language to describe gender identity that we do today. And even then, that language is still always evolving. But Chevalier d'Eon didn't have a specific way it seemed that they referred to themselves until the very end of their life. So I'm going to also try and keep it neutral. But their life story is really fun. It's really great. And most of what's known about their earlier years comes from their own like partially ghost written autobiography titled The Interests of the Chevalier d'Eon de Beaumont. The rest of their life was also full of conflicting stories and then rumors that like kind of fueled this like legend of a person. So like, though that everything that you're about to hear could be slightly embellished a little bit, but for the most part, we got like a pretty good bones biography of them. Born October 5th, 1728, they were assigned male at birth and named, you ready for this? Okay. Charles Genevieve Louis Auguste André Timothy d'Eon de Beaumont. Ooh. Or, more to the point, Charles de Beaumont. They graduated from College Mazarin in 1749 with a law degree, and as a 21-year-old, they turned to political writing, which first put them on the radar of the government, in this case, like the monarchy, the government. 1756, they were recruited for the Secret du Roi, or King's Secret, which was that's just a fun, like, spy network name, which was a network of spies working for King Louis XV. Poised as a diplomat for France, the king sends d'Eon to St. Petersburg, Russia, as secretary of the embassy. d'Eon's secret task, however, was to gather intelligence in the court of Empress Elizabeth. The Empress, as a lot of royalty liked to do, she threw a lot of balls, and was particularly known for her weekly metamorphosis ball, in which women dress like men and men dress like women, which sounds like a fucking awesome time. If you ask me personally, that would be great. And she did it every week. She's like, this is my metamorphosis ball every week. Come hang out. So years later, d'Eon would say that during their time there in St. Petersburg, they served as a lady in waiting for the Empress Elizabeth. But they're the only ones that say that. There's no other historical evidence for it. So you're like, is d'Eon like making their own like rad glamorous life? I don't know. Maybe they did secretly serve as like a lady in waiting. Not sure. But according to them, that's what they did. Regardless, it still played like a really key role in these top secret correspondences between France and Russia. That same year, though, they became the part of the Secret du Roi Department of the Spies. 1756, the 7 Years' War kicked off between Britain and France and their respective allies. We talked about this a little bit, a handful of episodes ago, that in America it was known as the French and Indian War, once it's like on North America continent. d'Eon served as the captain of the dragoons for France and earned a reputation as a brave soldier. In 1762, the king sent them to London to help negotiate a peace between the two countries because France is losing money. In success, the Treaty of Paris was signed, and d'Eon earned themselves the Order of St. Louis, which came with a generous pension and the title of Chevalier, or Knight. Rad, hot.
Bougie.
Do it, d'Eon. Do it. Live that life. Get that bag, as they say. After the war, d'Eon was named Charge d'Affaires. That made my own ears bleed. Sorry, everybody. And the interim ambassador in London. And once again, the king gave them a secret mission of identifying locations that would be ideal for a sea invasion. Even after the two kings are like, we've kissed and made up. We've got peace here in our 7 Years' War. King Louis XV's like, hey, Chevalier d'Eon, how about you hang out over there with the richy riches, and you let me know when you see some really sweet pieces of coastline that would be good for a sea invasion. As part of their cover to be close to the nobility in Britain, Chevalier d'Eon entertained. So they're like, I'm from the Burgundy region of France. I want all my bottles of wine to come from Burgundy, and I want it to be nice bottles too. And also, we need to spend a lot of money to get this place looking good and to throw a wonderful bash. Come on, let's do this. So the bills were big, but the parties were big. I'm assuming the personalities were big. Would have loved to have been there. Sounds like fun. Maybe actually, that's actually could have been like the worst thing ever. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what parties might have been like then, but it sounds like Dion threw a good one. So that's what I was like,
I don't know.
eh.
I was gonna say, sounds like they know a good time.
Yeah. Or if anything, I'll have one of those nice bottles of Burgundy wine and just take my own little tour around the garden. You know what I mean? I don't need to socialize. You don't have to fill my dance card. Stupid. All right. Um, Now, as I briefly mentioned, Dion was the interim. That's a very important word. They were the interim ambassador to England. I was like London. Well, London is the city that they were in, but England. And so when the actual ambassador showed up, Dion was then demoted to secretary of the ambassador. And they were like, oh, no, only the king can recall me. Dion was worried if they left their post that any secret invasion plans would be jeopardized. So they just refused to step down. They're like, oh, nope, sorry, only the king can make me leave. Also, on top of it, there's like this like familial rivalry between this man who's the new ambassador, the Count de Guerchy, and Chevalier Dion. So like they're rivaling against like this count and his family. That's fun,
I think
right?
there's drama as well.
So there's drama. There's some like bad blood between these two or their families or something like that. And there's a little rivalry. So when that guy shows up, not only is he like, no, hell no, you're not going to be the ambassador instead of me, even though like he went over there as the interim, right? He's like, I've got this job covered. I'm going to do a good job at it. And I'm especially going to do better than you because you suck. Also, I've got secret plans. And if anyone finds out about these secret plans from the king, that could be a big uh-oh because we're supposed to be peaceful and happy. We've just signed this Treaty of Paris. If they find out I'm trying to sneaky find places to do a sea invasion, they're going to kick my ass, right? So they're like, absolutely the fuck not. Also, could be ego too. I mean, we got a couple things going. So Louis back home, he's hearing this. And so he froze Dion's pension and tried to get the British government to extradite them. And basically, Britain was like, no, we like having them around. So, no, we're good. So, with their pension froze, Dion went for a really bold fucking move, which was blackmailing the French king. What?
Whoa.
The Chevalier published the very scandalous Letters, Memoirs et Négociations Particulaires. Come on. Letters, Memoirs et Négociations Particulaires du Chevalier d'Eon. Sorry. Basically like letters, memoirs, and the negotiations particular to the Chevalier d'Eon. So it was basically all of their private diplomatic letters that they had back and forth between powerful figures and the king, but just stopped short at exposing the secret du Roy spy network and like his secret plans. That was his blackmail insurance. That's what he kept. And he said, I'm not going to tell them, Your Majesty, if you don't, if you play nice, you negotiate with me, I won't tell them about this war, but
Wow.
don't fuck with me. This is actually the letter that they sent. Quote, if I do not receive a signed promise from the king or from the Count de Broglie that the entire affair with Monsieur de Guerchy has been resolved, well then, Monsieur, I will declare formally and truthfully that all hope is lost for me, and that in forcing me into the arms of the King of England, his Prime Minister, and Lords, it is obvious that you will be determining the fate of the next war, of which I will certainly be made its innocent author, a war that will be inevitable. What?
Ballsy as fuck.
Right? They're like, that's it. Pedal to the metal. Guys, gals, pals, we're doing it. Like,
no fucks given.
zero. This is treason. And still, because of how big the insurance was that Dion held in their pocket, the king had to tread carefully because if war broke out, Britain would protect the Chevalier because they had some real powerful friends. And then also they knew that Britain could beat them because they had just lost the last war to them, right? So it was like, it was delicate. And there's not a great economy going on anyway for France because they already broke from the last war. Negotiations were delicate. And it went on for over a decade, just the negotiations did. Louis XV died on May 10th, 1774, and Louis XVI inherited the problem in addition to the economy and in addition to his crown. Back in London, rumors are running wild that maybe the Chevalier d'Eon was a woman. Sometimes they dress like a man, sometimes like a woman. What's going on? We've got questions. It even got to the point where the fucking London Stock Exchange started taking bets on their gender, which is fucking rude if you ask me. Yeah, it became like this huge scandal.
How bored were you?
How bored? How bored are you? Goodness, 18th century London. Yeah, it became this huge subject of public interest and debate and scandal. And so the Chevalier d'Eon was a bit of a celebrity figure in addition to already kind of being in these powerful circles. It got to the point where the French monarchy would finally let d'Eon return to France. And they're like, okay, fine. Bring you back. There's too much scandal over there. We'll negotiate. We'll give you your pension of 12,000 livres so long as you turn over all of your information about the spy ring, you leave Count de Guerchy alone, and that you live the rest of your life as a woman. Now, I have some conflicting sources in which the Chevalier claims that they were assigned female at birth and then had to live as a boy or, as a man then, because their family wouldn't be able to inherit from their in-laws if they didn't have a son. And because they were androgynous looking enough, they passed for a boy and therefore were able to live their life as a man. That was their reason. That's what they told the public. Other sources were more like, the king was like, well, you've been living as a woman now lately, so just do that. And I think the king always just thought that Chevalier d'Eon was a woman or it was like presented mostly as a woman. So so he was just like, well, why don't you just be that? But you have to just be a woman for the rest of your days. We have to publicly and officially declare this. Okay.
Interesting.
So there is an author who wrote about the Chevalier d'Eon named Gary Cates, and he seemed to speculate that d'Eon used societal expectations and norms to help explain their gender identity to make sense to people at that time. So like in that example, like, oh, well, I look just androgynous enough that even though I was born a woman, I had to become a man so my family could inherit the money and,
justify it, basically.
And that was like one of those things where people were like, oh, that would make sense. Like that you would have to do something like that because like that's how our society is set up. So that's what author Gary Cates was, put forth and was like, oh, maybe that's a way to like get people to kind of understand like this is how I can understand or explain and get you to try to understand my gender identity. I don't know. The king also legally declaring d'Eon as a woman might have also been a clever way in order to marginalize them because women weren't allowed to be diplomats or ambassadors or anything like that. So it's also a way for the king to be like, and I know that I'll never have to worry about you in like other countries and stuff like that. Yeah. Yes, exactly. The transaction, as it became known, was officially signed in 1775. Now, not too long after that was the French Revolution. d'Eon's family estate was seized and Louis XVI was executed. d'Eon was left with no pension and no home, but they were also free to do as they pleased. They could be who they wanted. And they dressed and presented exclusively as a woman for the last 33 years of their life, calling themselves Charlotte and supporting herself with fencing and women's clothing. So people would like pay to like watch her fence. Now living as Charlotte, when France entered the American Revolution War in 1778, they offered for her to lead an army of women, which she declined. In their memoirs, d'Eon wrote, "What I am writing is not for the feeble souls of the century. How much I have suffered in body and soul. All that I know is that my transformation has made me into a new creature." d'Eon died in poverty on May 21st, 1810. Anyway, that is the life of Chevalier d'Eon. So I thought they were really fun. I like them. Number 2, and also blackmailing the king. Like, my goodness, right?
What?
Guts.
What a badass.
Guts, for sure. Okay. Number 2, the affair of the diamond necklace. we're not really going to leave this time period of French history because there's so much scandal and wild shit happening in the late 18th century of France. So get ready for a whole lot more scandal because this gorgeous diamond necklace that we're about to talk about might have cost Marie Antoinette her head. So here's how it unfolds, folks. It begins with Jeanne de Valois Saint-Remy, the self-styled Comtesse de La Motte, who passed herself off as a descendant of the former French royal family, the Valois. Her claim to royalty is dubious at best. So, whatever, minor nobility, medium nobility, no, not noble at all. I don't know. So Jean wanted a really extravagant and luxurious lifestyle, but her husband's income would never be able to fund it. So she just takes a lover. His name was Riteau de Villette, who was a soldier who served with her husband. And then she later became the mistress of the prestigious Cardinal de Rohan. Girls got a lot of spinning plates. She said the Cardinal de Rohan, my actual husband, Villet, and now my actual husband, and then this other guy, Villet. Yeah, see, I can't even keep track of them, but she's got 3.
I was like, I just got confused there too.
I don't know. I was like, oh shit, I've got all the names here in front of me and I can't figure out who belongs to who. So the cardinal had fallen out of favor with the royal family, but particularly Marie Antoinette's mother, Empress Maria Theresa, who had also told her daughter to keep the cardinal out of her inner circle as well. Knowing that the cardinal wanted to win back royal favor, Jeanne La Motte was like, here's my chance for a con. Because this girl, with all of her spinning plates, loved a con. We're not even sure she's actually royalty, but she's kind of sort of accepted in this weird circle. She made herself to be pretend contests. I don't know.
She passed the vibe check, apparently.
Apparently, she's a good gossip. She's really good gossiping behind her fan or something. La Motte discovered that some jewelers by the names of Charles Auguste Baumer and Paul Bassange were trying to sell off an extraordinarily expensive necklace that had originally been designed for Madame du Barry, the mistress of the former King Louis XV. The necklace was made of nearly 650 diamonds, weighed almost 2,800 carats, and was worth an estimated 2 million livres, roughly $15 million today, though because no one was buying it, the asking price was reduced down to 1.6 livres. Because at the death of the king, the necklace was unpaid for, the jewelers were facing bankruptcy, the king died and didn't pay for this necklace that he had commissioned.
Get wrecked.
I know. Can you fucking believe it? I'd be pissed. So they tried to sell it to the current king, Louis XVI. I'm like, why don't you give this to Marie Antoinette? She'll look so beautiful in it. Why don't you give that to him? And he's like, no. Well, I'm sure he probably said yes. He probably didn't give a fuck. But the queen, to her credit, the queen said, we have more need of 74s ships than of necklaces. I was like, okay, righteous. Good job. You do. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But either way, this necklace had been rejected by the king and the queen. So here's the con. La Motte casually tells the cardinal that she really enjoys having secret favor with the queen. And the cardinal's like, fuck yeah. Hang on. Cardinal probably didn't say fuck yeah.
He might have, dude. You don't know that. You don't know what the man of the closet do when they think no one's listening.
Oh, it's true. He's got a mistress and everything, right? I mean, yeah. So the cardinal's like, heck yeah. My side chick has the ear and the favor of the queen. She can put in a good word for me. I'm going to use this to my advantage. So La Motte encourages Cardinal Rohan to write letters to the queen. She's like, why don't you write to her and rebuild that bridge? That'd be lovely to do. And I'll give the queen the letters. So just give me your letters. It's great. So La Motte and her husband, nope, just kidding. So La Motte and her other lover, see, I'm already confused, Villette, who's the forger, right? Okay, he's a thief and forger, wrote back their own fake letters from the queen. So in the back and forth, the queen, air quotes here, spoke of this beautiful necklace and how much she really wanted it, but she didn't want to look frivolous buying this necklace. And I really like this necklace, really like it. And in order to win back her favor, the cardinal's like, I will get you that necklace. Your Majesty, just hold tight. I'll get it for you. And then she agrees, and she, air quotes, agrees, and set up a like late night rendezvous between the queen and the cardinal in the Queen's Grove to chat about it. So Lamont, here she goes. She hires a sex worker by the name of Nicole d'Olivia, who looked just enough like the queen. And d'Olivia and the cardinal meet in the Queen's Grove, and she stands in the shadows a little bit. And the cardinal is assured by this lady that he assumes to be the queen that he would be forgiven and have her favor. So he goes to buy the necklace. He contacts the jewelers and agrees to 4 installments. And he tells the jewelers, my girl, the Comtesse de Lamont, will come pick it up. She'll pick it up. She'll take it to the queen. Okay, great. We'll keep a lookout for her. She does pick it up and then immediately sends it off to her husband, who dismantles the necklace and starts selling off the individual diamonds in London. The jig was up when the cardinal didn't make his first installment and also didn't have the necklace. He's like, I gave it to the queen. And the queen's like, and they're like, do you happen to have this necklace? It hasn't been paid for. And she's like, I have no fucking clue what you're talking about. And they were like, oh shit. So the Cardinal Rohan, Lamont, Villet, and Nicole d'Olivia, and some sad sack named Count Cagliostro, who's just one of the Cardinal's clients who just gets drug into it. So his ass is brought in for some reason. I know, poor guy. He's
Maybe
probably like, what the fuck?
Getaway card.
Yeah, he's like, why am I even here? So Cardinal Rohan was acquitted, but exiled to one of his properties in southern France. Villette was found guilty of forgery and exiled. Nicole d'Olivia was acquitted because they're like, it's whatever. Count Cagliostro, though acquitted, this poor guy, was exiled from France by order of the king, even though he didn't have a damn thing to do with it. Jean de Lamont, I know, poor guy. Like I said, sad sack. He just gets drug into it and he gets kicked out of the country. Damn it. So the orchestrator of the whole goddamn thing, Jean de Lamont, was found guilty and sentenced to be whipped, branded with a V, which would have been for thief in English, and imprisoned for life in, this was not one that I looked up, Salpêtrière, which was a notorious prison for sex workers. But surprise, surprise, she disguised herself as a boy and escaped. This lady, she made her way to London. Yeah, can't be stopped. Can't stop, won't stop. Making my way downtown, rowing fast, getting my way to London. Da, 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 da. She gets to London and she immediately writes her memoirs in which she, unsurprisingly, blames Marie Antoinette for the whole damn thing. She's like, it's that bitch's fault. Poor gal. Now, the queen, again, doesn't know anything about what just happened. She's just asked if she has this necklace, which, you know what? Let me show you. This is a really amazing necklace. I'm going to put it back up on the screen again. So, Katie, if you're looking at it, most times if you ever see a picture of this necklace, it's flat and it just looks like a lot of like X's and like tassel things hanging down. And you're like, okay, I can't really picture how this looks on somebody. But the picture I'll have up for the people watching is on a mannequin. And some tassels of it go over the shoulder. So there's a whole like diamond strap that goes over the back of each shoulder with like little tassels that hang down. And then there's like a little like waterfall sort of teardrop thing going on with the main part of the necklace. And then there's like a little crisscross thing with like straps hanging down the front, all diamonds. It's really beautiful and unique. But if you see it laying flat, it looks weird. You're like, how does that go on somebody? I don't get it. But the poor queen, her reputation, which was already not great, the people don't really like her so much. It gets even more tarnished because when the king and queen defend themselves and like punish those involved and are like, we did not have anything to do with this. Everyone's like, yeah, right. The queen just wanted to use it as like a big old thing to manipulate Lamont into punish the cardinal you didn't like or whatever, so like either way, like no one was going to be happy. And only a few years later, the king and queen both faced the guillotine.
Also a rough day, buddy.
Also a rough day. All right. Final one. Number 1. Boom. Top of the list. Now, warning. This one gets a little gross in parts, especially if you're squeamish to some medical stuff or like animal cruelty or animals getting hurt. I'm not going to be giving details of these things. I read the details, so you don't have to, but I'll flag it when it gets to those points. So if you're like, I don't even want to hear a single thing about it, then you can just go la 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 when I tell you to. Okay.
Hey, it's editing Laurel stepping in to give a little correction here because great googly moogly, I've got a couple of them. So I just want to step back to Chevalier d'Eon's story. I misgendered them a couple of times and gave some he, him pronouns. I did not catch that in the moment until I was editing. So I just want to go back and correct that in case your ears heard that just like mine did in editing. And also, speaking of my ears catching something in editing that I didn't in the moment, this story that I'm about to start here, our very last Oui-diculous bit of French history, the person's name is Tarare, like Ferrari. I have it written like that. I have the pronunciation. Everything should have been just fine, but for whatever reason, I say Tartare, and my brain just went with it. It's actually Tarare. Tarare, Tarare, like a Ferrari. Back to the show. Let's go.
My number one weird, wild, and scandalous bit of ridiculous French history is about Tartaret, the man who couldn't stop eating. Born in Lyon around 1772, his date of birth is unknown, as well as if Tartaret is even his real name or not. And I hope that I'm saying Tartaret right because I've only heard it pronounced in one spot, and that's how they said it. So, fingers crossed. Now, as a child, his appetite was extraordinary. By his teens, he was eating his literal body weight, able to eat a quarter of a cow per day. What? That's so much meat. Like he had a particular appetite for meat. It was crazy how much he could eat. And his parents soon found out. They're like, we can't provide for this kid. We cannot buy
I was
and
gonna
cook
say,
enough
what are you
food.
gonna do?
Yeah,
Like,
that's too much food, my guy. So they had kicked him out of the house, and he just joined in with the roaming band of thieves and sex workers, stealing and begging along the way, before becoming the opening act for a traveling charlatan. His job was to draw in the crowds, which he did by eating stones, corks, entire baskets of apples, one after the other, and then even live animals. Turns out he has a particular fondness for snake meat. Gross. In 1788, he moved to Paris and became a street performer where he did more of the same. Yuck. So let's talk about this guy's physical appearance because it's a doozy. You might think Tartre was maybe like a particularly big or tall man. He was actually really small. Records show that at 17, he was average height for the time, whatever that might have been. I would guess maybe like middle of the 5 feet, perhaps 5'6" to 5'9", maybe, and only weighed 100 pounds, or about 45 kilograms. He had unusually soft, fair hair and a huge mouth, roughly 4 inches across, like jaw to jaw. Like I tried to measure that out, and it was like almost double my mouth. Yeah, that's like cartoonish. Like what? I'm gonna have to cut that section out and put that up on Patreon. No, no free mouth content, you guys. Gross. All right. Only personalities. His stomach was interesting. Again, talking about cartoonish. So, like when he was hungry. Oh, I meant to note earlier. All my sources are pretty much a handful of medical journals because not much is actually written about this guy except from all the medical people and like the military records about him. So basically, this was one of those ones where like Wikipedia and all of its medical journals was actually the best source that I could have found that like gave the most information on this guy. So, but with that, you kind of have to take him as a pinch of salt because it's medicine in the late 18th and early 19th century kind of thing, you know? So it's like,
yeah, we
you know,
understood things a little bit differently as well.
yeah. He had like this, he had skin that would hang from his stomach when he was hungry. And then when he was full, his stomach would get really distended. Like the way they talk about it made it seem as almost as like it's like he had like an empty sack on his stomach. They just filled up with food,
It's
and
like
then
he
it
had a
was
weird
like,
hernia.
right? Isn't that bizarre? They said like you
Yeah,
could actually like he could stretch his skin out. Like that would be how distended his stomach would get, and you could actually
that's like a weird like hernia thing, dude. That's weird.
I was like, dude, what? So there's that. And then it was always noted that his body was hot to the touch. He sweat all the time and he stunk, which became particularly bad after he had just eaten.
Ew.
Yeah. What's more, he had chronic diarrhea, which was said to be, quote, fetid beyond all conception. That's nice. Despite his large intake of food, he didn't appear to vomit excessively or even gain weight. Aside from his eating habits, those around him just were like, I mean, he's not weird in other ways, or like he doesn't seem like he's mentally ill either. It's just his appetite is voracious and like medically he's weird, but like, you know what I mean? I'm like, how is eating live animals not weird? You know what I mean? Like, but no other unusual behavior other than an apathetic temperament with, quote, a complete lack of force and ideas. So the cause of Tartaret's behavior is not known. He's still technically this medical marvel. While there are other documented cases of similar behavior from the period, none of the subjects other than Tartaret were autopsied, and there have been no modern documented cases that even resemble his. Hyperthyroidism is a theory that gets put out there because that can induce an extreme appetite, rapid weight loss, profuse sweating, heat intolerance, fine hair, list of similar things. There's an author who wrote a book in 2006 by the name of Jim Bondison, wrote like about medical marvels, and he speculated that Tartaret had a damaged amygdala section of your brain, and it's known that injuries to the amygdala in animal testing can induce polyphagia, which was, hang on, let me look that up real quick. An abnormally strong, incessant sensation of hunger or desire to eat, often leading to overeating. But it's just weird that he's like the kinds of things that he wants to eat and he feels compelled to eat. It's kind of scary. Okay, so anyway, back to his life. During the War of the First Coalition, Tartaret joined the French Revolutionary Army, and he was just so fucking hungry all the damn time. Rations weren't enough for him, because that's like enough food maybe for one person, right? But not for Tartaret. And he would start doing favors or chores for other soldiers and be like, hey, I'll do your duties for you if you give me some of your food. And even then, that wasn't enough. And he ended up passing out and going to the hospital for exhaustion. So they were trying to figure out, oh, what's wrong with this guy? Like, why is he like so depleted? What's going on here? So they just quadrupled his rations, and they're like, I guess just give him a shit ton more food. I don't know. But he still was like, oh, it's not enough. I can't do it. So they're like, they start just doing tests to be like, how much could you eat? Like, how about we just try and feed you as much as we possibly can, and then you'll be full. And he ate 2 large meat pies, plates, plural, but it doesn't say how many, of grease and salt. Barf. Ugh. And then 4 gallons of milk. No. And then immediately went to sleep, didn't throw it up, immediately went to sleep with a distended stomach. So it just got to the point where the hospital staff were like, oh, does he just eat anything? Like, does this guy just eat a lot of anything? And the staff presented him with, and here's my animal warning. So if you don't want to hear this, maybe just cover your ears and go la, 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 about 20 to 30 seconds. They presented him with a live cat that he proceeded to immediately tear into, drink the blood, ate it in its entirety, except for the bones, and then puked up fur. It was disgusting. I wrote that and I was like, ugh. After that, the staff gave him live snakes, puppies, lizards, and even an entire eel that he swallowed whole after crushing its skull with his teeth. Okay, that's over. Vile experiments aside, the hospital staff were like, oh, he eats fucking everything, but we don't know what to do with him, so I guess he can come back to active duty. But hey, General, you might want to put his eating abilities to use, wink, wink. Like, get creative with that guy because he'll eat fucking anything. So the general tries having him eat this little box that had a message in it. And Tartaret does. A couple days later, he shits the box out, and everything inside was legible and intact and could be like, yeah, it could be read. Gross.
What
I
the
know.
fuck, France?
So then Tartare becomes an official spy.
This
Gross.
is
That's
not
why,
even real. There's no way.
this is why it's number one, baby. It's so gross.
Actual.
but before he can get sent with any sort of official important documents, the general's like, I don't know about this guy. He eats some weird shit. I have to make sure like he's mentally sound because I don't know.
He's not.
So there's something up here, right? I want to make sure if he's caught, he's not going to immediately give up the mission. So the general sends him with a dummy message, but tells him it is of the utmost importance. Keep this safe. It's extremely important. Don't let anybody catch you with this. And then they dress him up as a peasant and send him into Prussia. But he doesn't speak German and he's captured almost immediately. Give him a few phrases or something before you literally just push him into enemy territory. Like, there you go. You've got this. Don't let anyone find
nothing but French.
Yeah. Don't let anyone find the box you swallowed. Don't shit in front of anybody. Well, they search his body. Nothing's found on him. And they're like, what are you doing here? Like, obviously, you're not from around here, friend. Not really friend. To Tartare's credit, for about 24 hours, even though he's beaten and he's imprisoned and they're like trying to like get this information out of him, he doesn't say anything. And then after about 24 hours, I'm assuming he's probably hungry, right? Because he's fucking hungry all the time. He gives up the whole game. And so they change
his stomach that broke him.
It was his stomach, the bastard. So they chained him to a toilet and soon he just poops out the wooden box, which at least it came out.
How do you shit out a wooden box?
I don't know. How he did not have bowel obstructions all the time, like that killed him. Like, I don't know, right? So they chain him to the toilet. He poops out the box. The Prussian general, whose name I believe is Zoegli, was furious because when they finally got to the message through all that shit, they're like, oh, this is just a dummy message. Like, this doesn't mean anything. So that's it. I'm angry. You're going to the gallows. So they're just about to hang Tartare as a spy. And then some change of heart, something happens. I don't know. Maybe Tartare farts or something. I'm not really sure. They're just like, buddy, you stink so much. Let's get you out of here. They take him back down again and they just send him back after another beating, of course, because, they send him back to enemy lines or French lines. The French army decided to no longer do anything with Tartare's ability. And they're like, yeah, you know what? No more eating boxes. Your spy days are over. After your first run, you're good. And we're just going to leave you in the care of the doctors because we don't know what to do with you. You're just hungry all the damn time. Most of the doctors were kind of like, oh, I don't want to have anything to do with this guy. But Dr. Percy was really committed to finding a cure. And especially Tartare was really shaken up after he was captured. And he was like, I'll do anything I need to do to be cured of this. Like, this is awful. I hate it. So Dr. Percy's like, okay, laudanum? Nope. Wine vinegar? Nope. Tobacco pills? Nope. Nothing's working. Any efforts to control his diet or try and feed him as much as they could or like feed him certain things, that would fail. And they would just like, they'd find him gone and like find him outside, like digging through trash heaps or like fighting stray dogs for rotten food and trying to like search the ground outside the butcher. Like it was very strange, very gross. Some patients that were undergoing bloodletting, because that was still a thing at this time period, they found him trying to drink the blood of the patients that were going through bloodletting. They even found him in the morgue trying to eat some of the bodies. It's not okay. They're all incredibly grossed out. But Dr. Percy, again, is like, I'm going to stick by him. I really want to try and help this man. It gets to the point, though, over time, a 14-month-old toddler disappeared from the hospital. And based on his eating habits, everyone immediately suspects Tartaret. It's like, that bastard, he ate a baby. I mean, I shouldn't laugh. It just feels, I just said bastard and eat a baby in the same sentence. It made me think of fat bastard. Sorry.
This sounds like some songs I've listened to.
I'm really sorry.
This sounds like some Infant Annihilator shit right now. Like, this is literally, I have screamy, angry music that talks about this very thing.
Gross.
But that's in satire. That's in satire. You're the one who's talking about it actually happening, and I can't even mentally fathom this.
Right. I know. This is why. Again,
I've heard some unholy things, girl.
Yeah. Sorry about it. Sorry about this.
This is right up there with it.
Well, continue we shall. Now, nothing gets figured out. Like, we don't know if he ate the baby or not, but we don't know that he didn't, kind of thing. And at that point, Dr. Percy's like, I don't know if you did or you didn't, but if I can't, that's fucking abhorrent, and I can't trust you. Get the fuck out of here. Basically, he was like, I can't do it anymore. Leave. So 4 years later, Dr. Percy receives correspondence from another doctor saying that they had Tartaret, who wanted to see him. Who's like, I'm a patient of Dr. Percy's. Can you write to him? So Dr. Percy goes and sees him and is told by a now weak and bedridden Tartaret that I've swallowed a golden vork and I think it's lodged inside of me. And which he swallowed the vork, I think it was 2 years prior. So like, what? Are you what? Anyway.
There's that bowel obstruction you were talking about.
God. So he's like, Dr. Percy, you're going to be able to save me. You're going to be the one that can remove this, right? But Dr. Percy's looking at him and he's like, mate, you have advanced tuberculosis and you're dying. Like, bowel obstruction or not, I mean, he's like, you're not okay. You are not well. And 1 month later, Tartaret, medical warning for some upcoming content, he began having exudative diarrhea, meaning that it had blood and pus in it, and he died. So because he's such a medical marvel, people were like, we should study his body. But the corpse started to like decompose really fast, and everyone was like, actually, you know what? No. But the doctor we're good here. We don't need to know. But the doctor who contacted Dr. Percy, who like had him in his hospital, was like, I'm going to try and figure out what's going on here. He's like, I want to see if his intestines are any different than those of somebody else. I want to know, like, is that gold fork still inside of him? So
I am genuinely curious.
Yeah, right. So Tartaret's throat, like his gullet, was found to be abnormally wide. And when they open up his big old mouth, right, they could basically see down to his stomach. That was like how like open and cavernous he was through here, which is wild. This is all according to like medical journals and the records at this time. It's not like there's a lot of writings that we have like for us now. His body, again, medical content warning here, is found to be filled with pus. His liver and gallbladder were abnormally large. His stomach was enormous and covered in ulcers, filling most of his abdominal cavity. No fork was ever found. And he died when he was about 26 years old, 25, 26. And that is the story, the wild fucking story of Tartaret, the man who ate everything. Yuck.
That might take the cake for, like, I think the cringiest story we've talked about yet. And I talked about that medieval werewolf guy that was really pretty bad too.
Mm-hmm.
Also, ate a child.
Yeah.
Incidentally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I said that bastard, which sounds a lot like fat bastard. And I said ate a baby. And it sounded like that made me start laughing. Ate a baby.
Well, bonjour, mon ami, and bienvenue to the break. Sorry, we just really felt like leaning into that accent there, and that was a choice. Sorry about that. We are really happy to have you here with us for our trip through French history, and we hope that you've been enjoying yourself so far. If so, please make sure that you are subscribed and following the show on whatever platform you're listening or watching from. And hey, maybe give us a little rating, a little review while you're at it. Subscribing, rating, and reviewing are all great free little things that help support our show in a big way. And we really appreciate any moment of your time that you take to review the show and show the podcasting world how much you like what we're doing over here. If you really like what we're doing, you might consider becoming a best bud over on Patreon. We have a variety of membership tiers, both free and paid over there. And we have extra content like interviews with our guests, extended stories from the episodes, historical cooking videos, and movie nights on the big brown couch, which we've watched Braveheart and Gladiator and Outlaw King, and we've got many more to come. I also have 300 and The Last of the Mohicans that are up next to be edited. And hey, we totally understand that times might be tough, or hey, it's just not in the cards for you right now to support the show financially. We understand the heck out of that. But if you're looking for a free and easy way to support us, you can join the Best Buds Club for free, or you can rate and review the show, or share this episode, or maybe another one of your favorite episodes with your friends or on your social media. And speaking of social media, you can find us over on Instagram at High Tales of History, or on TikTok at High Tales of History Pod. So I took you on a little trip through some Oui-diculous French history, and Katie is now going to follow it up with some literary history and one of the most iconic cathedrals in the world. So with that, let's puff pass it on to part 2.
So there you go, Katie. You can pick it up after that.
Well, I'm glad mine, I don't know if I'd say it's necessarily happier. I don't know if it's going to leave us in a happier mood, but it's something I'm very passionate about, so there's that.
Folks, I've been trying to get it while her air conditioning was on, and we were like waiting for it to turn off. I was like, is it cheese? No, you've done one about cheese. Is it wine? Is it wine and cheese together? Wait a second. Is there a French horse thing? And she's like, no, just like, how about you wait? So I've been trying to guess it. So
I know. I was actually, this might not be, I mean, you'll probably be like, oh, that makes sense once I say it.
Okay.
Because you'll be like, oh, duh. Yeah, that's something that Katie loves about France. Like, it's a big one.
Okay.
It's the one that, like, put it this way, of all of the places I've visited in this world, France was actually one of my favorite. And I don't think it gets credited as that very often.
Oh,
I was
bravo.
only in Paris, but it was still fucking rad.
That made a great impression on you. That's nice.
It did. It did. It was sunny as well, and I think sometimes that might work against London, unfortunately. You kind of get fucked with your weather. That's not my fault.
Sorry, London. Still
Sorry
love you.
about it. At least I can read the street signs in London.
That too.
So since we've hit triple digits, I've decided to do a story very treasured to me and the history behind it. A story as well known as and as iconic as the place it occurs in. That's your last hint. Do you have any guesses?
No.
Really? Oh, okay. I'm talking about the Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah. I was surprised, actually, you didn't get that one.
No, I don't know why. I nearly talked about Victor Hugo tonight in my countdown, but the information.
We're going to talk about him.
Yeah, the information I had on him, while it was so cool and like was like a really fun little thing, there wasn't a lot on it. So I was like, oh, I don't know if I don't want to like give like bad historical information here. So
yeah, I wish I could do like follow up on that with you. I don't know much. This is mostly going to be the history of this story, and then the real story behind it. We are going to go over that because I don't think a lot of people know it because it's never been adapted correctly from the novel.
Okay. So, righteous. Well, let's learn all about it.
Yeah. So this story has been reiterated many different times. We'd be here all day, basically, if I tried to go over all of them. So to keep it feasible, like I said, we're just going over the original novel and the brief mentions of the Disney movie I grew up watching because that's how I know what it is. Also, so underrated. That movie, that soundtrack. Anyway.
Oh, yeah. Like the Bells of Notre Dame.
Yes.
My friend Bob, who I'm going to see if I can get on the show sometime. Oh my God, he sings it so well. And I just was like, that was amazing.
Who does?
That's so good. Bob.
Oh, dude.
Bob does. Yeah. I don't know. I was like, that was so cool.
that song is like, oh, that is a good one. I would pay a lot of money to see some of my favorite artists do that. My favorite artists that have really good voices do that. Let me rephrase that. Okay, so known in its original language as Notre Dame de Paris, or Our Lady of Paris, and as it's known by English, and the title that we're all going to be calling it, because that's what we know it as, is The Hunchback of Notre Dame. The Hunchback of Notre Dame, it's a French Gothic novel by Victor Hugo, and it was published in 1831. I, doing this, realized who he was and like how much of his stuff I actually like. And I was like, oh my God, it's all the same person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like the times that I realize there have been a couple times when I'm like, wow, I really like this. Only come to find out later it's an artist I like now and it's them previously. And I'm like, how the fuck did that happen? So this novel is considered a classic of French literature and has been adapted repeatedly for film, for stage, and for television. That includes a 1923 silent film with Lon Chaney, a 1939 sound film with Charles Lawton? Looks like Laughton. Laugh and then done.
Lawton?
I thought Lawton as well,
Yeah.
so that's where I went.
I don't know.
A 1956 film with Anthony Quinn, and of course the 1996 Disney animated film with Tom Hulsey? I thought it was 97.
I think it's Hulse, but yeah.
Oh, okay. Hulse.
96? Is that what you said?
I thought it was 97. Hold on, everybody. We're having this moment
I
together.
thought 96 because 97 was Hercules. And like Mulan was
no,
98.
You're right. 97 was Hercules. You are amazing. I don't care what anybody says. You've got it, kid. 96, The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Wow. Nah, you schooled me, dog.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to like Disney adult that or like out Disney adult or anything like that. Just
right.
like, okay.
I mean, when you're right, you're right. And the 90s was all a blur for me because I was only there for like 60% of it. So,
like the mid to late 90s was such a great time for me anyway, but I did a lot of movies in those few summers, 6, 7, and 8. And for whatever reason, like that's how I remember when movies came out because like I will remember the movie theater and the other movies I saw.
Hercules, and then what was the 98? Mulan. Mulan was 98. Oh, I'm back
Good
on
ones.
top. Anyway.
Yeah. You got it.
So Hugo's novel was written during a time of cultural upheaval. The novel advocates for the historical preservation of like monuments around France. Hugo solidified Notre Dame de Paris as a national icon, arguing for the preservation of Gothic architecture, which I agree with him, as an element of France's cultural heritage. And it was actually one of my favorite things about Paris was that Gothic architecture. I feel like there's so little of it now. I think where else can you see it? In Cologne, or as we say in English, Cologne. Just so little of like Gothic architecture around today to see, I feel like. That when you do get it, you're like, oh my God, that's good. Like it's like smelling your new favorite candle for the first time. Then you're like, is there more? There is.
All
some,
the candle.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to sniff all the cathedrals. So I'm going to do a quick rundown of the story just because the Disney version is pretty different from the novel. Different enough to where there's like key things that where I start talking about like what certain things mean and you're not going to know what I'm talking about. So The Hunchback of Notre Dame is set in Paris, surprise, in the 15th century. The story centers on Quasimodo, the deformed bell ringer of the Notre Dame Cathedral, and his unrequited love for the beautiful dancer La Esmeralda.
Oh.
Esmeralda, born in Agnes, it has that French little accent over the E, but it looks like Agnes to me. So, sorry, France. I do my best. I am poorly educated on the French language. She is perceived to be a French Roma girl, or a Romani. We're going to go on about them in just a minute, so hang in there with me.
Cool.
Her biological mother is a former sex worker once known as Paquette la Chantefleurie, but now known as Sister Goldie, Gudule, Goudet. Her paternity, however, is unknown. So 15 years previous to this, a group of Roma, or the Romani, kidnapped this infant, Agnes, from her mother's room. Esmeralda has no knowledge of her kidnapping, and she lives and travels with the Roma as if she is one of them. The Romani people, also known as Roma, the derogatory term for these people, by the way, is gypsies, and we're not going to use it because it is a derogatory term. Was then, is now. So when you watch the movie, they will refer to them as that. Well, actually, they do it. So the Romani and those among them refer to them as the Romani, because that's where I first heard the term, was actually in the Disney film. And then the
townspeople, the French townspeople kind of thing.
Yeah, refer to them as, the gypsies, basically. So they do it in they're kind of showing that difference in terminology and whatnot. But anyway.
Oh, right. Okay.
So we're not going to use that term, but because that's how people refer to them, and I believe they referred to that way in the book as well. Again, it goes back and forth between the two. They use the Romani, call themselves the Romani, and then vice versa. But just so nobody gets confused, all referring to the same people. So the Romani are an Indo-Aryan ethnic group with a history spanning over a millennium. Believe it or not, their origins are traced to northwest India, where they are believed to have been driven from their homes by the Indo-Aryan invasion. They began migrating westward, eventually settling in Europe, West Asia, and parts of the Americas. There's estimated to be around 20,000 Romani people in France, including those in Paris. Right now, the Romani people arrived in France in 1418, with records indicating their presence in Paris by 1427. The Roma in France are often perceived negatively. It leads to a lot of discrimination and hostility. During World War II, they were targeted by Nazis and subjected to forced labor in concentration camps. They are often marginalized and excluded from mainstream cultures, societies, in any of these regions that they're in, France, Germany, whatever, and they face prejudice and stereotyping and often violence. So, little history on them, because you cannot tell the history of this story without the history of the Romanis. So, Quasimodo.
Nice.
Thank you. Quasimodo first meets Esmeralda at the Feast of Fools, an annual festival parodying the ritual of the cardinal elections, basically. They're making fun of the church, basically, which good for them. Because France will never take itself seriously. They allow themselves the room to be creative. So during the festival, Quasimodo is elected the Pope of Fools, which is different, obviously. In Disney, it's the King of Fools. You would recognize it, but Pope of Fools, because this is a play on the church. Subsequently, he's then beaten by an angry mob. Because, yeah, I know, it's very sad. Esmeralda takes pity on him and offers him a drink of water, because this whole time he's just calling for a drink of water. Have you ever read this book?
Oh, Quasimodo. I've not, no.
Oh, it's
like reading
bummer. Shakespeare. It's tragic. Just a fair warning. Well, you're going to get the story here, but it's worse when you read it because I left some parts out.
Yeah.
So, the fair warning to anyone who does go to read it, it's very adult, which, I mean, duh. But just go in. It's a heavy one, so just go in ready for that in your soul.
Prepare thyself and your heart and your soul. And your emotions.
Yes. Quasimodo pretty much thereafter falls in love with Esmeralda and decides to devote himself to protecting her. Unknown to Quasimodo, there are two other men vying for Esmeralda's affection. Quasimodo's adoptive father, the Archdeacon Dom Claude Frollo, and the womanizing captain, Phoebus de Chateaupierre.
Yuck to both of it.
Yes.
Yuck and yuck.
Mm-hmm.
Get out of here,
Esmeralda,
guys.
for her part, has fallen hopelessly in love with Captain Phoebus, which, if you remember the Captain Phoebus from the Disney, he's not that bad. Oh, he's not like a bad guy in the Disney. He kind of they give him a little bit of a character arc, so he kind of starts as a knuckleheaded moron and then grows to be a good person. This Phoebus is not that Phoebus. So just to prepare everybody, if you really like Phoebus in the Disney, you're going to get your heart broken here because he's not a good person.
I totally forgot about this guy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Oh, Kevin Kline was his voice in the Disney version of it.
Yep.
Okay, fun.
So Esmeralda, super hopelessly in love with Captain Phoebus, he asks her to meet him in secret late one night. She enthusiastically agrees. That night, Phoebus tries to persuade Esmeralda to sleep with him. From a closet in Phoebus's room, a disguised Frollo spies on the couple.
What?
It's worth, yeah, dude, there's drama here. Listen, tragedy is about to strike. Hang in there.
Okay.
You told me about a man eating fucking cats. Don't even go there with me. So, you have no room to talk tonight. So,
Fair.
So, it's worth noting, for those of you who have read the book, I am skipping some parts, but I'll try and fill in what I can remember because it's fucking been a while. Esmeralda is trying to get Phoebus to marry her the whole time. She's begging him to marry her because that's what she wants. She wants to be married and like move in with him, like have a life with him, not just obviously be a fling for him. Also, it's worth noting Esmeralda is 16. It is also 1831. I don't know if that mattered at that day and age. Maybe things were a little different in the 1830s. I'm not sure. Just wanted you all to know that. It's
noted.
So
noted.
I'm telling you.
Thank you.
In the Disney movie, she looks like definitely well into her 20s, 30s. Like she's not underage at all. Thank goodness.
Mm-hmm.
So Frollo, disguised, watching them from a closet like a psycho. After he sees Phoebus kiss Esmeralda's shoulder, the archdeacon, in a fit of jealous rage, breaks down the closet door and stabs Phoebus in the back.
No
Phoebus
shit.
collapses before he can see his assailant. I know, girl. Esmeralda loses consciousness, and Frollo escapes, leaving Esmeralda as the only suspect in the attempted murder.
Oh no, bummer. Okay.
Yeah, it just... Knuckle in, everybody. From here on out, tragedy is just going to steamroller your heart. So yeah, hang in there. Esmeralda is quickly captured by the king's guard. Master Jacques Charmolue presides over her trial. Charmolue sentences her to death after she falsely confesses to witchcraft, under duress and torture, by the way. And murdering to Phoebus. Esmeralda is unaware that Phoebus is still alive. Quasimodo attempts to shelter Esmeralda in Notre Dame, but he is ultimately unable to save her. There is a part in that book about attempted sexual assault, because Frollo gets the key and tries to do that to her in prison, and Quasimodo comes to her rescue. So,
this fucking guy. I already hate him in the Disney movie, but goodness.
Frollo betrays Quasimodo and Esmeralda by taking Esmeralda from the cathedral and releasing her to an angry mob of Parisians. Because she's Romani, right? Shortly thereafter, Esmeralda is hanged. Sorry, bud. Quasimodo, in his grief and his despair, pushes Frollo from the cathedral tower. And the novel ends many, many years later with two skeletons. That of a hunchback and that of a woman. They are found as he's embracing Esmeralda in her tomb. And then Hugo also says about Phoebus that he came to a tragic end and said he married. That's all he says about Phoebus in the end. So there's many myths that surround Notre Dame and all of her beauty. One of which is the story of the hunchback. Who is the hunchback? Was he really this hideous creature with its disfigured face, or is he just a normal man with an unfortunate disability? So many believe that Quasimodo, the hunchback from Victor Hugo's novel, was based on a real person. So there's probably some truth to it. Obviously, it's probably taken on its own steam, if you will, with a little bit of folklore and legend in there. So after the French Revolution, picking up where Laurel left off, the Cathedral of Notre Dame fell into disrepair. Many statues and gargoyles on the cathedral's exterior were destroyed or stolen, which is awful. In the 1820s, stone carvers renovated Notre Dame in Paris. Among them was a British sculptor named Henry Sibson, or Sibson. I'm going to say Sibson, Sibson. Yeah.
That feels good.
Who later wrote a handwritten autobiography. I don't know who just does that as a stone carver, but, maybe you've got interesting things to say. It included a detailed account of the cathedral's renovation, so obviously he did. Sibson references an issue with the contractor that hired him. In his words, they had a falling out and he was forced to find another job at the government studios.
Oh.
Upon doing this, what do you think, Sibson or Sibson?
Sibson?
Sibson? Okay. Upon doing this, Sibson met another carver named Trajan. It's clear that Trajan made an impression on him, but that's not important. According to Sibson, Trajan, Trajan? Okay. Nailing it, hopefully.
I mean,
maybe nailing it.
I'm just shrugging my shoulders. I'm like, I don't know, actually.
I was like, sure. And Katie's like, I got this. Trajan worked under a government sculptor who they rarely saw because he didn't like to mix with the carvers. Sibson could not comment on the sculptor's real name, only that he was humpbacked, and the only nickname he would ever hear was Le Bousseau, French for the hunchback.
Oh,
I know.
Okay.
Yeah. So archivists have studied the recovered historical documents detailing Sibson's time in Paris and the restoration of the Notre Dame Cathedral. Based on their findings, Sibson most likely referred to the same individual Victor Hugo references in stories. In addition, it's noted that Sibson described known artisans active in that same part of Paris where Hugo and Sibson lived in the 1820s. So basically all his information is good. So this person is probably fucking real. Hugo also lived in this area and proposed to his wife in Dreux, Dreux, where Sibson and the team worked, so he proposed to his wife there. And Hugo would likely have seen Trajan, Sibson, and Le Bousseau in his time there. So, basically, the timeline lines up. All his other information is good. Why would this one piece be a lie? Translating to you.
Right, okay.
It is today, on this day of 2025, that Katie realized that Victor Hugo also wrote Les Miserables.
Yeah.
It's like, holy shit, it's the same guy.
Yeah.
So anyway, in his earlier work, Les Miserables, he even mentions that main character's name was Jean Trajan before altering it to Jean Valjean. He had that guy's
Jean
name.
Valjean. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jean Valjean. So Jean Trajan, maybe? Trajan is his name? I was right, Trajan.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. Okay. This is where the story of the actual Hunchback of Notre Dame begins to come together. Victor Hugo was inspired by the real life events and people around him, like where he wrote his world famous novel. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, nice.
Man, I mean, I thought it was cool. I was like, dude, there's actually a hunchback.
Well, he's writing about France and talking about the inspiration that he's getting from the people around him in France and Paris especially.
Yeah, he goes fucking hard. You know how J.R. Tolkien... I love the fuck out of J.R., by the way, so nobody take this wrong, but you know how Tolkien, talks a lot about trees and walking and the landscape? You'll spend a good 20 pages on it, and you're like, dude, I don't even remember what we were talking about originally.
Where are we right now?
So hard now.
What's going on?
Hugo is like that when he has a whole chapter dedicated to describing the cathedral to you. So, Lord of the Rings style writing. So it's no surprise that I was like, yeah, this is fucking great. Anyone else would be like, what the fuck? You know, sometimes some of us need that hyper detail.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Anyway. So, but yeah, so if you read it, prepare thyself. You're going to get Lord of the Rings style cathedral lore and knowledge.
Okay. Yep.
So it is possible that Victor was also inspired the Notre Dame Cathedral itself. Mahaha. Segue. Hugo was
Yes.
obsessed with Gothic architecture and believed that it was a cornerstone of French culture, which I agree with him. He was right, dude. Hugo believed
Yeah.
this so strongly that he composed a pamphlet called The War on the Demolishers in 1825. In it, he specifies The Hunchback is a Gothic novel about a Gothic building. The story's moral focus is the Notre Dame Cathedral. Architects set the stage, backdrop main characters, and it forever binds their fates.
Whoa.
So basically, when you read The Hunchback of Notre Dame, the main character in that is the cathedral, is what he's saying. So it's still
main character
the
energy.
worth in its story is still so there, though. Like I'm like, yeah, but it's like also a slapping story, dog. Like your architecture's great, but also you didn't shirk on the storytelling, dog. Like that shit's classic.
It didn't shirk at all.
Have you ever been?
I have not, no.
Okay, we need to get you there. I don't know what it's like now because I saw it pre-fire.
Yeah. It's just been reopened, right? If I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Last year or early this year, it was during winter, they rang the bells for the first time since 2019 or stuff like that. I remember I heard that because I was all about that. For those that don't know, because I'm not a really churchy person, right? And it was such an experience unlike any other. I don't know how to describe it to people except walking into an ethereal wood where fairies live and then coming back out and not feeling like you were the same afterwards. I don't know. It sounds weird. I've asked other people who've been there if they had weird experiences, and everyone else was like, dude, the first thing I did when I stepped through the door was I started crying. And I was like, okay, so you felt the weird shit too. There's a lot of weird shit in there. Yeah, it's a crazy place. So it left such an impression on me. I've never been able to forget that. And it is one of my favorite places on earth, as crazy as it was. You good, dog? For me, I am not a Christian, and yet it was still such a holy, charged place. It was very interesting. There's a lot going on there. Wherever that is and whatever's going on over there. It's very interesting.
That is interesting.
I would encourage as many people as possible to go check it out because it was very life-altering. I've never been able to quite get away from it after that. And everyone's like, that's really weird. I was like, man, I don't know what to tell you. For those that are interested, maybe I can tell this as something on our little Patreon, my side story of what happened there. But yeah, it was just really cool, and I think people should check it out.
Please
man.
do.
It's a cool
Let's
piece
do
of
it.
history.
Yeah, I love that.
And the monks there were the nicest of any cathedral I walked in because I got kicked out of the other ones. So fuck off. They were way nicer in France. So the Hunchback of Notre Dame considers what it means to be a monster, right? I think we all probably understand that that's a real headline coming your way here.
Mm-hmm.
The novel makes Quasimodo's defining characteristics his physical monstrosity. His entire identity is constructed around him being perceived as a monster, right? He's described by one of the women in Paris as a wicked and ugly man. Several characters suggest that he is some kind of supernatural being, like a sorcerer, that prowls around and casts spells on the citizens of Paris and stuff, right? Also, in the book, I don't know if it addresses this in the movie, he's almost completely deaf from all the bell ringing, obviously. That shit's loud as hell. Who didn't, shove cotton balls in his ears, duh, or linen or something?
Nope.
And he is blind in one eye. And then has a hunch. Yeah, so he has, stuff that he deals with. It's an interesting juxtaposition, right? One of my favorite film words, of Quasimodo against this dashing, handsome Captain Phoebus, who is named after the Greco-Roman god of the sun, which is funny. He references that in the movie when he gets introduced. I think it's to Esmeralda for the first time, and he goes, named after the sun god, and I think the goat, butts him. And she's like, yeah, I could have done without that part. And he's like, yeah, probably. So, kind of funny, poking fun actually at the real character of Phoebus in the novel. He's a handsome fellow who all these ladies admire, and yet, when push comes to shove, it's Quasimodo, not the heroic captive Phoebus, that attempts to save Esmeralda.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, not only does he act to save Esmeralda, he is also the one to kill the archdeacon and his reign of unholy terror.
Yeah, fuck that guy. Fuck Frollo. What's his name?
Frollo.
Fuck Frollo.
One of the best Disney villains. He is so slimy and villainous. Oh, he's so evil. Ooh, I hate him so much. Essentially, Quasimodo, the hunchback character, he is a metaphor for the cathedral itself, which is really interesting to me. This is like what Hugo was like, yeah, if you didn't get it, duh. He's malformed and misunderstood, but ultimately he is good in his heart. He perceives the cathedral as very grotesque from the inside, and then like on the outside, and then beautiful on the inside, which I thought was really interesting, is what I got from that. Which I get it, because when you stand on the outside of it, like, things stare at you, and you're like, you kind of feel like you're standing naked on stage in front of a bunch of people. It's very interesting. Esmeralda is also perceived as her own kind of monster, although she is not, in fact, a Romani, right? She is seen and treated as one. The Roma are associated with witchcraft and the supernatural, and as per the stereotyping of the Parisians of the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
A common trope at the time, which is in the original novel, is that the Romani people would kidnap babies at the time and consume them. Why does it always go back to eating babies, France? What is that about? I thought that was weird and vulgar to include in my story, and yet here you are bringing home... Yeah. So anyway, on other happy topics, among other legends about the Romani, not only would they practice magic, they also possessed satanic goats. Esmeralda's goat could spell Phoebus in the novel, and it'll do tricks and like spell things out and stuff like that.
Oh, that's a fun
she was
party
so
trick.
In love with him.
Oh, is there?
And there is a man that Esmeralda agrees. There is actually a third suitor, but he kind of just like falls to the wayside in the story. Esmeralda agrees to marry him. He finds his way into the what's their underground base called? The Court of Miracles, which is where the Romani camp is in the like underground of Paris, right? Where you'll get lost if you don't know where you're going. In this day, in the 21st century, we've lost people and never gotten them back from the catacombs under Paris, which is terrifying. So he wanders in, but he's not a bad person. Somehow he knew Esmeralda because she knows Frollo's younger brother who drinks with this guy at the bar. Yeah, it's weird, dude. This novel has got tea, it's got shade, it's got drama.
So much.
Almost everybody ends up dead. Spoiler alert. And
sounds like it.
That's the thing. So it's very Shakespeare-esque. So she marries this guy to save his life because he either hangs or it has to be accepted as a part of the Romani. And she spares his life, but she's like, ew, don't touch me. I did it to help you, but that's it. So he's always trying to like win her affection throughout the like thing. And when Frollo grabs her, this guy that she married has an opportunity to save her, and instead of saving her, he saves the goat instead and leaves with the goat, and that's the end of his time in the story. Yeah. I was like, well,
it's like, this goat spells names.
Yeah. And he grew fond of the goat because he cared for it when he was married to Esmeralda, because when she wasn't around, he cared for the goat. So, fun facts. You really should give this novel a read. I'm telling you, there's twists and turns you don't expect in there. You're like, wait, what?
So much happening.
So, possessing satanic goats. Frollo exploits this as a call for mass genocide of the Romani, especially within Paris, where he sanctions a purge, which they touch on in the movie as well. Just like Charmilot did to authorize Esmeralda's execution.
Right, okay.
Unfortunately. Justification, right? So this novel focuses on condemning the society that just piles on the misery onto Quasimodo and Esmeralda, right? These people in vulnerability, and whatnot. And he indicates that the real monsters are not Quasimodo and Esmeralda, even though perceived, yes. But Frollo and Phoebus are the true villains here. They're terrible, terrible people. They're beautiful on the outside, right? You have the archdeacon, this man of God and godliness. And then Phoebus, this dashing captain here to rescue the people and keep them safe. And in reality, it's just a greedy, lust-driven, hollow, evil individual. Man, even the Disney movie is like probably not for kids, to be honest with you, but whatever, which is kind of ironic.
I remember seeing it in the theater and being like, oh, this is really intense. And I was like of a good age to see it. Like I was a preteen, I think, when I saw it. You know,
it's a
like
good
I was
movie.
like,
Kids won't get it. That's the
No.
thing, is it's just all going to go over them. They're not going to understand the weight of what is being told here. But that lesson is the heart of the Disney movie even, and it reflects in the song that opens the film called The Bells of Notre Dame, which we spoke about earlier. It says, who is the monster and who is the man? And the song leads the viewer to ponder where the wicked heart truly lies in this tale, because they speak about Quasimodo and this hideous deformity and whatnot. And then they talk about the evil of Frollo and how it just festers in his heart. And for those of you who have not heard, if you're like, I'm not going to watch the Disney movie, Katie, I'm not about it. Fair enough. What you should do is go on YouTube, and I know you have it because you're watching this right now. Go on YouTube and listen to The Bells of Notre Dame and Hellfire.
I'll put those both in the show notes. Yeah.
Thank you. And holy shit. They are life-changingly good. Thank you, and holy fuck. I mean, it's just, I just can't even begin to describe to you. When I tell you Frollo is just the most evil of Disney villains, he's like up there, like, you gotta work hard to get there. Like Scar was just murdering his whole family. He is right up there with, like, Frollo is like, he tries to kill a baby at one point. Fun fact. So, remember, he grabs him and runs.
So it was voiced by actor Tony Jay, who is a former member of the Royal Shakespeare Company. Best known for his very low, distinctive baritone voice.
Oh.
And it's great because the actor, you know how like a lot of times the animated character has similar facial features to you know, mimic who the actor is playing the
like
role.
Like the Muses in Hercules.
Oh, I love the Muses in Hercules. Oh my God, I love them so much. Tony Jay looks like that too. In terms of just like a longer face. He's got like the sort of laugh lines and dimples around here. So, yeah, Tony Jay.
I highly encourage that if you're interested in cathedral stuff, just Google the cathedral and just look at pictures of it. It's pretty cool. It's an interesting place. Not where I expected to find an everlasting impression from another place, but there it is.
Yeah. We'd love to hear that story. Maybe we'll just do that over on Patreon, and I'll tell you my little story that I took out of here that was going to have about Victor Hugo, because it's after he wrote Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Yeah.
And then he goes into exile because the Napoleons, y'all.
Yep.
And in exile, he has a bunch of seances, and then he comes back and he writes Les Mis. So how about we do that? Yeah, we'll go over to Patreon, and for the best buds, we'll tell some extra side stories there. So head on over there if you want to
do it.
Yeah, go on over. Best buds, go on over there.
And that'll go really good with my story that I have to tell. Just gonna put it out there.
Nice, good. Look at that. So we'll just make it for anybody who's a member, even if you're a free member. What about that? So that just kind of signs them up just to be a part of it. Okay. Cool. That's how we're going to do that.
We want you to hang out with us.
Yeah. We just want you to keep on hanging out.
Even so there it is. Yeah. I'm surprised. Like, I shouldn't be surprised, but like, I figured once I said the cathedral, you'd be like, oh yeah, no, I do remember that, but not what you expected out of me and Kelly.
No. But that's good. That it's really great that it left such an impression on you, and that was something that like really stuck with you. And yeah, I looked it up. Notre Dame opened its doors again on, it looked like December 7th of 2024.
It was last year in the winter. I was right again.
Yes.
It feels good
Nailed
sometimes.
it.
Just let me
You
live
nailed
my
it.
small victories.
The bells ring again at Notre Dame, so it's back open again. That's really good. It kind of reminds me a little bit of when I read Phantom of the Opera for a book report, and I was up till 2:00 in the morning because that's how I ran my life as a teenager. I would just be up really late at night, procrastinating, like just doing the homework that I didn't get done or wasn't able to or whatever. I remember like cramming the book at like 1 or 2:00 in the morning and sobbing, like in our teeny tiny little house, boo hoo hoo sobbing at how sad it was when the Phantom dies. Spoiler alert. I mean,
Spoiler alert.
you know that one. But yeah, and I was just like, God, yeah, like that real ugly crying. I was like, this is the saddest book I've ever read.
Those
Yeah,
classic novels, man. Yeah,
man.
this one's a lot like that. And when they go to move Quasimodo's skeleton, it crumbles to dust.
Stop it. Fuck
And that's
off.
what's written.
Get the fuck out of here, Victor Hugo. Victor.
Now, when I saw that he wrote Les Miserables, I was like, oh, that makes sense. One of the saddest stories I've ever had the pleasure of hearing.
Can you hear the people? Yeah. That's like Ms. like the actual musical. That's about all I know of the actual music itself.
Same.
I have no idea.
I have not read the book. No, I've
or that either. Yeah.
Yeah, I've gone through enough sadness in my life. I think I'm good at just going to the musical. That was worse. Yeah. That was bad enough.
I think I felt my feelings enough then. I'm sure I'll feel it the same.
I don't need like times 10 of the brutality. No, thank you.
Yeah. All the parts
I like
left
my
out.
brutal in my breakdowns, not in my literature. So.
Yeah, we had some Oui-diculous French history, ending with Tartaret, the man who ate everything, and then starting it with just an innocent little 20-minute monarchy reign, a kingship. I don't know where I was going there. And in the middle, we had diamond necklace scandals and I don't know, poison bread and things like that. And then hang out in France for a little while and hang out at the cathedral. Sanctuary.
Dude, that scene when he holds her above him.
Yes.
And yells, sanctuary. It's good. I mean, the Disney film's not bad either, guys. It's not totally accurate because it had to be dumbed down for kids, but I don't mean dumbed down, but like less adulted down. That's
had to be for kids, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It needs to like not necessarily be at the same level. Yeah, dude. And what's with the eating babies, man? Stop it.
Stop eating babies. People of more historical France. I don't want to say people of France today because it's not like they're doing that.
Yeah,
but like
it's unfair. There's a couple hundred years between now and then. Like I think they've grown out of it. At least I'm going to give them that credit.
But it seemed to happen a lot in the 18th century. There's the werewolf guy. There's the Beast of Gévaudan. There's
Gévaudan.
Yeah.
Oh, more French. Obviously, I've got a thing for you, France. What's going on here? Don't tell Australia.
Katie was the one that picked this theme, so she said French history, and I said, okay.
Did.
I've got a few in my mind, but I'm gonna try and dig out of that, and we'll see what we come up with. But I had a lot of fun with this. It was great. And I like that two of our stories like kind of come together at a certain point too. We can kind of add to it, which is fun. So if you want to hear more of the tales, go over to patreon.com/high tales of history. We didn't do this on purpose. It just came together like this. It's amazing. So if you sign up as even a free member, we'll put it up there for you. So just as long as you're signed up, you can hear some weird Victor Hugo seance tales and why Notre Dame is so special for Katie. We get to do this one more time, folks. It's going to be episode 102 to take us to the end of season 5. So season 5, episode 8 is what that will officially be. And we're going to have one of our really good friends on here. I know you like talking about big dumb idiots in history and people doing dumb shit. So we're going to have one of our bestest friends, Derek from History's Greatest Idiots, come and sit down in the smoke circle and talk about some of history's greatest idiots. So I've got a couple in mind. I don't want to give too much of a hint, but we've, we just had a new pope come to be. So Pope Leo the Shit. Pope Leo the 14th.
I don't know. They put it in Roman numerals, and I don't know.
Oh, man, I should have looked that up. I didn't look it up, and I'm panicked.
I just know that when he's doing the blessings and the babies, it's going to be all Italian beef au jus.
Ha ha ha! Pope Leo the 14th. There you go. I had 4 in my head, so I was 14th. Close there.
It's a good number. Good day.
And he's from Chicago. That. It's the first American pope, and Chicago is thrilled. So
what?
Katie and I being from
losing its mind. Except I heard he's not a Cubs fan.
Sox fan, yeah.
Which I have a problem with, bud.
Oh, okay.
What? You're a Sox fan over the Cubs?
No, I'm not. But I'm also just trying to.
Fan, aren't you?
No, I'm just trying to pander to all of our Chicago listeners, since they take the largest share of our listenership.
Well, so, that's because Chicago
Cubs or Sox. That's fine. So Cubs, Sox, whoever it may be, we've got a little bit of hope. I was trying to tie that in, actually. Yeah, Sox, Cubs, whoever it may be. I was actually just trying to do a little tie-in to like give a little hint. The Pope, which actually I had the story planned for a very long time, and then unfortunately Pope Francis II passed away, and we got a new American Chicago Pope in the meantime, between the times that I was like finalizing this episode. So I was like, well, it's all come together. We're on a mission from God. We are the Green Sisters, and we're going to be back again for episode 102 in a couple of weeks. I was like, where am I going with this? Quick, wrap that up. In the meantime, folks, get money, get high, give love, and
don't be eating babies. I'm just going to say it right now. Blanket statement, no eating babies.
Stop eating the babies.
Not.
Guys,
it's not allowed.
Don't eat the babies. Don't eat the babies, everybody. Bye.
Bye.